This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Pursue Fitness Sportswear. I'm joined by Robbie Davies Jr. Robbie, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You okay?
I'm all good, thank you. Obviously, it's always good to hear that you're doing well. The announcement press conference for your bout with Ritson in his hometown. Just talk to him about the fight.
Yeah, it's a big fight, big occasion, and it's massive for Newcastle, but it's also massive for me and Lewis as well. Top of the bill, main event, Sky Sports. Like, these are things what I've always dreamed of, and now it's finally here.
One thing which I did want to pick up on was the fact that you vacated that European title to face Lewis. What was the decision behind that? Obviously, Lewis just trying to readjust to a new weight now, trying to rebuild on the back of that Purewal loss still, whereas you've kind of been on the up over the past couple of years. What was the decision behind vacating that to go back to face Lewis?
It wasn't really my decision, to be honest. When it come round to purse bids, before I knew it was going to purse bids, they'd already gone. And I was getting announced I was fighting in Spain, and I was like, no chance. I wouldn't. I was like, it was in like 3 weeks from when I just think I was like, oh, I'm not fighting there. And then by the time my manager had got round to speaking to the EBU and things like that, and the title was gone. So I didn't really have no decision. But then we always had Lewis penciled in anyway. Obviously, of course, Lewis at the time was fighting Joe Hughes, and I weren't fighting at all. So it was like, if Lewis beats Joe, then you and Lewis can fight. But once that was out the window, it was like, well, should we put Robbie on the same show just to tick over fight? And then obviously the animosity built between us that way, and then the fights just came round a lot quicker than we expected.
I know you've mentioned you wanted that Lewis-Ritson fight at some point in your career, and you knew that it would happen at some point. But let's say if a situation with the European title never occurred, with the purse bids, etc., do you think that you maybe would have gone down a different road and you wouldn't have met so soon?
Yeah, I would never have wanted to vacate my European title so soon. Definitely not. Like it was a big achievement for me to win the European title. I wouldn't have wanted to vacate it so soon, but it wasn't in the plans for Matchroom, and obviously Lewis has built up a big fan base up here in Newcastle, and for the two of us to fight up here and top the bill, it's a big occasion. It's a big occasion than what me and Sandor Martin for the European would have been. So I've got to look at the good side of it as well as the bad side. Do you know what I mean?
Now, talk about Lewis and this rivalry. Where did it all stem from? Where's this kind of hatred come about?
I wouldn't ever say hate. Like, hate's a bit of a strong word, but the original spat started probably because of me. Like, I've said this on a few interviews now because I wanted to clear it up anyway. My manager was on the phone to me saying the Lewis-Ritson fight, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, all right, but why Newcastle? Why is it not happening in Liverpool? I'm European, British champion. And Neil just replies to me saying, no, they won't have it in Liverpool. So I get off the phone to Neil and I'm tweeting like, oh, he doesn't want it in Liverpool, but oh, don't worry, I'll go to Newcastle. So I've already said that. And then next minute, Jaffa, that's Lewis's manager, is mates with my manager. So they've already been on the phone, like, what are you on about? And Neil's rang me back and said, what are you on about with your tweet? And I was like, you said he doesn't want it in Liverpool. And he said, no, Matchroom don't want it in Liverpool. And I was like, oh, well, I've already said Lewis has now, so leave it. Because it's already started the fire in the works, and everyone was kicking off, and everyone was always like, well, if it's happening, at least this is the spark for it all anyway. So I just left it as it was.
Are you surprised then in that sense? I know you're admitting to that now, but are you surprised in the sense of the fact that the rivalry has continued to grow at the pace that it has?
Yeah, well, it was because of after our last fight, obviously. I've seen Lewis's interviews afterwards, the fight, and he actually had that planned, you know what I mean, sneaky. But I obviously had no idea of it at all. And when he come in the back and he shouted like something to me, at this time I didn't even say nothing. So I was thinking, I'm not getting into an argument here, going into my own fight, don't want to start arguing with him now. But my manager, obviously emotions were high, they just listened to him on the microphone, giving it a bit, saying he'll smash me and things like that. So my coach, shouts over to him, shut up, you muppet or whatever. But then he spins around and starts like saying, F off your mug and all stuff to me coach and stuff. And I was thinking, if Lewis was the other way around and it was me trying to pick it in with something and his dad or Frano, his coach, shouted something to me, I wouldn't have spun round to them just out of respect and told his dad or his coach or anyone to F off and called them a melt in my words. That seems to be the word what's caught everyone's eye. Do you know what I mean? So I think when he looks back on it, even after this fight, he'll probably think like he shouldn't have done that. But since then, like that's been my only problem. I haven't really had no other problems with that. Like, I just know I wouldn't have spoke to his coach the way he spoke to mine, and that was it really.
Now, obviously, the fight's taking place in Lewis's hometown, as we touched on, in Newcastle. How do you feel about fighting up here once again, and the fact that it's going to be the headline event, like you say? Lewis has that big fan base. How do you feel you'll be able to cope with the fans who will be on your back and supporting Lewis?
Yeah, like I said up on the interview there, when you go into these big fights, and it doesn't matter where you are, like, look at some of our best world champions where they always go abroad and they're the champion. It doesn't matter where you are, as long as you're in that ring, just the two of you, and you give it your all. You don't have to start worrying about things like what the crowds are doing or things like that. It's only you and him once you're in that ring, and half the time you're that zoned in, you don't hear nothing until you're on your minute break listening to your coach. So it doesn't really bother me.
People are looking at this as a matter of a boxer versus a puncher. Is that how you see the fight?
Yeah, I think Lewis can probably box a bit better than he's given credit for, and I can definitely fight, because you've got to remember, all them knockouts haven't come on their own, so I think we can both do a bit. I think just like his more favour is to fight and my more favour is to box, but I think we can both do both. So I think it's just going to be who gets the tactic right on the night, but I'm fully confident it'll be me, as I've done on occasion after occasion.
So how do you see the fight playing out between yourselves? How do you see your styles gelling or clashing?
I don't know how it'll play out, but I imagine we'll gel quite well, to be honest. I think even if we lock horns, we'll be good. If we stand off for a few rounds, and we're both going to be throwing heavy shots, so either way I think we'll gel either way. Neither of us are all awkward and bending all over the place and stuff like that. We both stand tall, we both like to land big shots, so I think it'll gel well.
A couple of quick things I just wanted to get your opinions on. Down at lightweight this weekend, Loma-Campbell faces Loma-Campbell. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Well, obviously my heart says Loma-Campbell, want to stay with the Brits always, but my head says Lomachenko. He is a bit of a special talent, and I think it's going to take a massive performance from Loma-Campbell to pull it off, and I just think the way Lomachenko's been over these last few years, it's mission impossible, but obviously in boxing anything can happen, so we'll have to wait and see, but I do slightly favour obviously Lomachenko.
And finally, on Saturday night, Anthony Yarde was unsuccessful in his first world title fight against Sergey Kovalev. Did you catch a fight?
Didn't catch the full fight, but I seen like a highlight reel with like 3 minutes, and I think just in the early rounds he was just getting out jabbed, but when he started getting close to him and he was letting his shots go, he was menacing. He was really making it a good fight, and me personally, I was a critic at first, thinking, how's he even got this fight? Like, oh, Kovalev's going to do this, he's going to do that, and how wrong I was. Like, Yarde really did show his mettle in that fight, and even Kovalev after the fight was saying like, you're going to be a champion, and I honestly believe he will as well after watching that fight.
Well, Robbie Davies Jr, I appreciate your time. I know you're going to have other people waiting to speak to you now, so thanks for speaking to myself and Boxing Social.
Oh, I appreciate it, thank you as always.